We're gonna make it look fly with some DIY. We're gonna make it look fly with some DIY. We're gonna make it look fly with some DIY. Uh-oh, thrift diving.
Hey, what's up? It's Serena Pia from ThriftDiving.com, which is a podcast, a blog, and a YouTube channel that helps you decorate, improve, and maintain your home using paint, power tools, and thrift stores without sacrificing your budget, the environment, or style. Welcome to episode 27 of the Thrift Diving Podcast. And today we are talking about how to make over a room in 30 days. That's right. This is something that I have been doing for quite a while. When we moved into this house, all the rooms needed to be made over. We had no furniture. If you remember from episode 1, the story of thrift diving, if you haven't listened, click down below for that link and you will hear the story of how we bought this house. There was wallpaper everywhere. We had no furniture. I mean, it was a lot of work. And it has taken 10 years to get to the point, almost 11, where I feel like all the rooms are quote unquote done. I mean, a room is never done, is it? Because by the time you make over a room, let 6 months go by and I can guarantee you start looking at that room like, wait a minute, I thought I made this room over. So now I feel like I'm going back and I'm redoing rooms because it's never done. But today we're going to talk about how to actually plan a room makeover so that you can put everything that you have, all your ideas on paper and plan out what you're going to do so that hopefully you've got all the tools, all the materials, and you know who's going to help you in all these amazing things that are going to happen in this room. You get it down on paper. I am going to tell you, just for listening, as a thanks, I have a free download for you for this episode. It is the Room Makeover Journal, and I will leave a link down below on where you can download that. In fact, I just printed one out for myself because this month I am making over my kid's bedroom. Again, this is a room I've made over multiple times, and I will leave links down below where you can see some of the things that I've done in this room, I tell you. You know, it's one of those rooms where it looks fantastic, just maybe the first day, and then the kids start throwing clothes everywhere, and, you know, the color, you thought the color was great, and then you look at it and you're like, this isn't good. So this is like the third time I've been making over the kids' bedroom. But I'm going to talk a little bit about this room and what I plan to do in it. And I want you to start thinking about the room in your house that you have been wanting to make over, that you've been planning to do it. You just didn't have time for it. You're not sure where to get started. We're going to talk about all those things today and talk about some questions that you need to ask yourself to generate some ideas for what you want to do in that room. So let's jump into it. Now I've got 3 boys. My oldest one, he's in his own bedroom. I made his over sometimes before, and I will leave a link down below. His room turned out really cute. But my other 2 boys, Ohene and Kojo, they're 11 and 9. Their room is not really a space that they use that often. You know, they don't have computers in their room. They don't have a TV in their room. We're kind of old school in a way because most kids of these ages have these things. Well, aside from the fact that they sleep there, they don't really use their room, but it's still an eyesore when you go past and you see this room and you're like, oh, we got to do something about this space. So that's the room that I'm making over. And I'm going to walk you through this makeover that I'm going to do. But as you're listening to this, I mean, you may be out on a walk, you may be exercising at the gym, and you're not able to click on this. But I am going to remind you to download this because I'm actually going to walk through this and go through all the questions and tips and tricks and just little things like that you should be thinking of as you work on yours. But I'm going to be using my room as an example. So in this document that you're going to download for free, on the very first page, sort of like the title page, it actually has a start date and a finish date. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people get into with room makeovers is that they know when they're going to start, but they don't really know when they're going to finish. And let me tell you, there are multiple projects that I guarantee, because I have it, I'm sure you do, where you started, but you never quite finished. And I think the difference between having a start and finish date versus just starting and not having a finish date is that you're more likely to get distracted by other projects. Things come up and you just put it aside and you never finish. Now, here's one thing that we've done at Thrift Diving, and it's been a while since I've done it, but we used to do 30-day room makeover challenges. Let me tell you, these makeover challenges were so freaking amazing because it was me and whoever else signed up, right? All my readers and viewers, I mean, sometimes I would get a ton of people that would sign up. But with anything, not everybody who signs up is going to be able to complete it. Some people lose energy. Some people, life gets in the way or things happen and they don't finish. But we would usually end up having a good 15, 20, 25 people who would actually complete the challenge. And every week we would post in the Thrift Diving 30-day Makeover Challenge group. And we would just post process pictures like, hey, this is where I am. Look what I did today. Can't believe I'm making progress on this finally. And then at the end, we'd have a big hoorah. And I would take everybody's before and after pictures and I would post it in either a blog post or a video. And I'm going to leave a link down below if I don't forget to put it down there with some of the people's projects that I have highlighted. And what was great is that these challenges really forced people to get involved, right? Because every day they're posting in the group and they're constantly focused on the fact that they've got to get this done. They've got 30 days and we're going to get this done and we're doing it all together. So I actually need to do one of those challenges again. Typically, I would do them either January. I used to do the June room challenge, which was amazing because it sounded great, but it was in the middle of the summer. A lot of times people wanted to be inside doing projects. So we would do one in June. We would do maybe one in August. We'd do the August overhaul challenge. And then we've also done the November challenge as well. And I think holidays is good because it's right before Thanksgiving when people are having people come over to the house for holidays. If they're working on their living room, their kitchen, finally they're excited to get this place done because they know that people are coming over. So we might do that in November. We might do that. I thought about doing it for August to do the August Overhaul 2021 challenge, but I don't know. I've been so busy with other things, I didn't have time to organize it. So anyway, getting back to the start and finish date. Unfortunately, even though we're not doing this together, you can use this as motivation to get you started on that room. On the front cover page of this booklet that you're going to get for free, it asks you to write down what's the room you're making over and what's your start date and your finish date. Try to come up with a hard finish date and maybe give yourself a 1-week grace period. So for me, I would have liked to have started August 1st, but I don't know, man, this week, it's like I finished up a project that I had to do. I think it was due like Tuesday or something like that. And once I finish a project, I usually need a few days to recover. So I've been kind of lollygagging the last few days. It's like I'm not off, but I'm not really being productive, if that makes sense. So today when I started planning out this podcast and planning for this room makeover, I thought, oh my gosh, today is the 6th. The first week is already done. So Serena, you need to hurry up and get yourself in gear to get this done. So my finish date is actually going to be Sunday, September 5th. That's about 30 days. And putting this down on the front cover sheet of this document here that you're going to download gives you that time frame. And so you can start planning it out. And then at the bottom, it actually says, I, Serena Appiah, commit to transforming my space by the finish date. Fill your name in there and make yourself accountable for getting this done. You could be decluttering. Maybe you're doing your kitchen cabinets. Whatever it is, you are making sure that you are dedicating your time and your attention and your focus to getting this done. So usually where I like to start when I'm thinking about a room makeover is to ask yourself the following questions, okay? And I'm going to go through what my answers are, but think about that room that you want to do and what the answers are to your question. So the first question is, what is the room going to be used for? So if it's your kitchen, of course, I mean, it's for preparing food, but your kitchen may be a gathering space, right? If you have friends and family over, you may never go into the family room. You may typically hang out in the kitchen. So if that's the space where you're hanging out, that's where you're doing the cooking, but it's also a hangout spot. So you might think, okay, well, this is where I'm going to be inviting people into my home. So I may need extra seating. I may need some other things in this room to accommodate how I'm going to use the room. My kids, they don't really use their bedroom except for sleeping. But, you know, we're heading into the school year. And honestly, I'm just going to be real straight with you. I think we're going to have probably about 2 months of school. And this Delta variant is going to just explode. Not that it isn't already exploding, but it's really going to get bad. Here in Maryland, I think we're doing pretty good. But let me be clear, the numbers are going up here. The numbers are going up, and every day it's like it's doubling. I've been watching the numbers. So I predict in 2 months, the kids are going to be back in virtual. I just think that's what's going to happen. So I know that this room is probably going to be used for virtual learning. And right now it's not set up that way. So I'm thinking of how I'm going to be able to make this room over, but to make sure that it's going to have enough space for the kids to be able to do that. So think about your room and have a clear idea of what that room is going to be used for, because this makes it easier for you to decide what you need to put in that room. So the second question is, how do I want to feel in this room? Right? So if this is a craft room that you are putting together, how do you want to feel when you're in there? Do you want to feel, of course you want to feel relaxed. You want to feel inspired. So when you know how you want to feel when you're in a room, it gives you an idea of the colors that you're going to pick. It gives you an idea of the furniture that's going to be in there. Like if you want to feel relaxed, maybe you need to have like a nice place where you can just kind of chill out in the corner and read. Maybe it's not just going to be used for crafting, but it's going to be used for some other things. So think about how you want to feel in this room. And I can tell you that for most of the rooms in my home, I love open, airy spaces. And my house is not an open, airy home by any means. It's a 1970s home. And you know, these homes in the 1970s and before, probably the 80s as well, they're not open concept. They're very like siloed. You got a dining room, you got a kitchen, you got a formal living room. So all of these spaces tend to feel closed in. Even though they're large rooms in my house, they tend to feel closed in. But I like my house to feel light and airy. So that's why I choose light colors, lots of, curtains and blinds, like things that are going to let the sunlight in. So when I think about room makeovers, that's how I design it. And I don't consider myself to be a designer, but I know there's certain colors that evoke a feel that a particular room gives me when I'm in it. And it's got that color, pinks, purples, all these feminine, girly colors that totally are not my tomboyish upbringing, but that's how I like to feel. Now, I don't know, the kids' bedroom, that's a whole different story. My kids are not picky at all. These are boys who really wouldn't care if there was just rugs on the floor and no bedding. They just don't care. They don't care. So I'm going to choose light and airy for their room. I am going to do a black accent wall. But they wanted the whole room black, and I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen. That is against light and airy. And their room does not get a lot of sunlight. So I still want their room to feel light and airy, but I also want it to feel mature. I want it to feel a little bit more grown up. 11 and 9 is still pretty young, but my boys are not babyish. They're a little bit more mature. And I want their room to reflect that. I want it to feel a little bit more masculine. So some of the bedding that I've already bought definitely has a masculine feel to it. So ask yourself, how do you want to feel in this room? And then start thinking of colors and furniture and things that will complement how you want to feel. So then the third question is, who will primarily use the room? Now, of course, if you are doing a kid's bedroom, the kids are going to use it, of course. But think of the other rooms in your home. You've got a craft room or let's say you've got a spare room that just has a bunch of junk in it. It might be a craft room for you, but maybe there's going to be like a small area for your husband or your spouse to do something else that they want to do. Or maybe it's going to be a guest room, but it still has to be a craft room for you. So you can design it with those ideas in mind of how it's going to be used, because you may not be able to take up the whole space with the crafting desk that you want because you got to put a double bed in there. So keep that in mind. And I think that'll help you to dictate what's going to go into that room. Now, the other question number 4 that you should ask yourself is, what is my true style? And the reason why I say this is because a lot of times people focus on trends. We see things on Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook, and everything looks so great and wonderful. I personally think farmhouse, it looks amazing, but it's not really my style. I don't know. I think I'm maybe more of a modern. I got more of a modern look, maybe eclectic, I guess. I really don't know, to be honest with you, but don't go with just what is popular and what's in style right now. Think about what makes you happy. If you like shag rug, which I will be honest, I love shag rugs. Are they in style? I have no idea because I don't pay any attention to that. I just go with what I love. And I think that you should do that too. Don't feel like you have to stick with what's in. Go with what you love and write it in here on the sheet. Like I said, download it for free. You can get it down below and fill these questions out so that you can start thinking of ideas. So the next question is, will I need help or can I do it myself? And thinking about the kids' bedroom, I'm actually going to get them to help because I don't want them to think that they can just get a whole new room and mommy's going to do everything. No, I'm going to make sure that when we're doing the painting next week, which has to happen next week, they're going to be involved. And I'm glad that I waited until next week because they were in summer school. So now that they're out of summer school, they can grab a paintbrush and get started and help a little bit. But you might have a project that you want to do for your kitchen, for example. Maybe you want to paint the kitchen cabinets, but you don't feel like you can do it all yourself and you need your spouse to help. Or maybe you want to get your sister or your friend or whoever to help you. You have to make sure that you can plan that around their schedule. So you might have an idea to do an August room makeover, but if the person that you want to help you isn't available, you may have to wait until they're available. So that could throw a wrench in your plan. When you plan properly, you can identify who those key players are that are going to have to help you. And also, like if you don't know how to use tools and you have to get your spouse or your son or maybe your mother, because you know, we women, we use tools, but whoever that person is that uses tools, because you don't know how to use tools, you have to make sure they're going to be available to help you and maybe help you build something that you want for this room. Definitely get them enrolled in your project and coordinate it with their schedule. The next question is, what's my timeline to finish the room? Now, remember on the first page, we put a start date and a finish date. And I say give yourself maybe a 1-week grace period. I say 30 days is a good time because if you make it too long, if you say, okay, I'm going to do this in the next 2 months, that gives you a lot of time to sit around and do nothing. And then you're going to sit around for 30 days and, just say, oh, I got to get started on this. And you're never going to get started. So when you give yourself a tight deadline, like 30 days, then you know that each week you got to be doing something. You can't just sit around because you got to get it done. Now, you also, too, want to have somebody to hold you accountable. So if you're a part of the Thrift Diving Facebook group, definitely check in. I will leave a link down below for those of you who are not part of the group. I don't post there very often. I know some people do post over there. I'm bad with social media. I will admit I do not post consistently as much as I should. But, whenever we're doing challenges or whenever we're trying to get suggestions and feedback from people, the community is great. People will jump in and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. That looks amazing. So if you need a cheerleader or somebody to hold you accountable, definitely pop over to the group and you'll find that you'll get a lot of support there. So the next question is, ask yourself what problems need solutions for this space, right? So again, let's take the kitchen example. If you were doing a kitchen makeover, you may not have enough counter space. Maybe you've got like a breakfast bar or like an island. You may not have enough space there because you have too many people. I mean, we shouldn't be having too many people, but some of us have big families and get together often. And maybe that's one problem. You don't have enough counter space. So maybe you need to put a table in the kitchen or some other kind of seating, so that there's more places for people to get together. And the kids' bedroom, some of the problems that I have is that, oh my gosh, and I think this is just true for all kids, their clothes end up everywhere. Like they end up sitting, their clothes, they're responsible for laundry, right? So they'll fold laundry, they'll take it to their room, but they don't put it away. They sit it on top of their dressers and then they just pull from it. I have to admit, I do that myself sometimes. But one of the problems is that the dressers that they have, they're 2 dressers I got from the thrift store over the years, and the drawers are not very deep. So they're very shallow, and just the height of the drawers, and also they're not very deep. And it's not that they have a lot of clothes, it's just whatever clothes they have, it tends not to fit very well. So they end up just stacking things on top of the dresser, and then it ends up creating a huge mess. So I know that I need to make them new dressers. Am I going to have time to do that in this month? I don't know, but that's why I need to plan it now and figure out what wood I would need. Now, if you remember my closet makeover, I actually did build some drawers there for my closet makeover, and it wasn't that difficult actually to build the drawers. And since I just did that a couple months ago, I think I'd be able to recreate 2 more pretty easily to be able to make more space for them. But I could easily go to Habitat for Humanity. They always have dressers there. They're going to be a little bit more expensive there, Well, actually, by the time you take into account the cost of the wood, which is crazy nowadays, I may be better off just buying a dresser used. And I am very well going to look at the thrift store to see what I can find, because that would save me time. And of course, it's better for the environment to just reuse. But another problem is we don't have any space for virtual learning. So my youngest, he was in the laundry room all last year for 2020. Poor thing. You'd open up the laundry room and, you've got the dryer going and the washing machine going. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. That's right. You're in class. This is where he would sit. So I think what I'd like to do is to create little desks for them, or at least for one of them. I think my youngest probably would be in his bedroom, so that if he needs to go virtual, he's got a place where he would be able to set up his computer and not be in the laundry room. So, and also being away from his brothers too. It's very easy for them to walk by and open the door and just mess with him. And then I get an email from the teacher saying, oh, Kojo's walking away from his computer. Yeah, that happened. Another thing too is the problem that they have in their room is that it doesn't get a lot of sunlight. So I want to make sure that the curtains that they're using is very light, very airy. I'm doing just an accent wall in black, but everything else is going to be maybe like not a bright white, but like a creamy white. And so I'm hoping that will help to make the room feel just a little bit lighter. And another big problem that they have in this room, they are still sleeping on the same bed. They are sleeping on a king size mattress. It's so embarrassing, but let me tell you the story. So a couple of years ago, there was a company that reached out to me. It was one of those bed in a box companies. And they said, hey, we've got this king mattress. Would you like to try it? Well, my mattress, it was disgusting. We'd had it for so many years. It had breast milk. It had pee from the kids. It was just gross, I can't believe I'm telling you that, but it was a gross mattress. So when they said, do you want to get a mattress? Sure, let's, I'll do a video. Let's try it out. I slept on that thing for one night. And after that, I was like, no, my hips cannot take this mattress. It wasn't that it was uncomfortable, but for me, it didn't work. So we gave it to the kids. And they had one of those, gosh, what do you call them? The beds that are up on stilts. Can't even think of it, but they had one of those beds. And they used to sleep in that bed together. It was just a little twin size. They were smaller. I said, perfect. Let's just put this king size mattress underneath of your platform bed. That's what I'm looking for. Platform? No, I don't think that's the word, but it's one of those tall beds. And that's what they're still sleeping on. It's been a couple of years and they're literally sharing a king size mattress on the floor. So that's a big problem because now they're bigger, they're older, there's still plenty of space, but once you get to 11 and 9, you need your own beds. So I guess maybe last year or so, I found these 2 matching twin size headboards and I love them. They look like, when you see those old desks, the campaign desks, right? It looks similar to that. I don't even know what you would call it. Was that Art Deco? I don't know my style. But anyway, they're matching. And it's very rare that you find a matching anything at the thrift store. So when I found it, I said, okay, great. I'm going to keep these. I'm going to make over the kids' beds. And that's one of the projects that I have planned for this month. I'm going to take these headboards. I'm going to put some wood on the side. I'm going to probably make footboards to go with them. Of course, I'll have to do that because there's no footboard. And then I'll get some wooden slats and put those across the bed and just hope that it doesn't break. But I have to plan that. I need to plan that and make sure that they're solid, secure. And I may strip them, but I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to paint them, but we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, that's a problem. And the solution is to make new beds. So as you're working through these questions, you start identifying things that you need to do. So now you can start making up your to-do list. You can start making your materials list. And that's the next question. What tools and materials do I need? Well, based on the fact that I need to make beds, I know that I'm going to need probably some 2x6s for the sides of the beds. And I'm also going to need some wood for the footboard, but I'm also going to need, do I need curtains? No, I think I already got curtains for my room and I'm going to give them some of the spare curtains. But based on the solutions that I'm coming up with, I can start making my list of tools and materials. Now, in this document that you can download for free, there is a few sheets here where you can actually write down all of your materials and tools that you need. And it's a little checkbox. So as you get it, as you secure it, or as you purchase it or borrow it from someone, check it off. Because now you know, oh, I got that. I don't need that anymore. Let me go to the next one. And what I find is that when you can plan out a project like a room makeover and just write down everything that you think you'll need, it makes it so much easier to get started because there's less times you have to run back to the store and repurchase things that you forgot that you needed. Now, are you going to need things that you didn't realize you needed? Of course. But if you plan this out, you're a lot more successful in getting your project done on time. So think about everything that you need. And if there's things that you can borrow from people, tools, materials, then by all means do that. And the next question is, how much will this room makeover cost? Well, now that you know what tools and materials you need, you can attach a cost to each of those. Sometimes you can just go to homedepot.com or lowes.com and look up how much things are going to cost. I know for a fact to do the kids' room, to paint it, I'm going to need probably about 4 or 5 roller covers because I'm going to need to prime. The color that's in there now, it's a dark green. So I have to prime over that. There's no painting over that because it's a pretty dark color. So I'm going to have to prime. So I know that I need probably 2 gallons of primer, and I'm going to need a roller cover. I'm also going to need a cover for the black paint, and I'll also need one for the cream color paint, but I also may need one for, no, I don't think I'll need a roller cover for the semi-gloss paint. Actually, no, I will because I will need to paint their bedroom door in a semi-gloss. So that's 4 roller covers. Now, if I'm planning a budget for this, I could go to homedepot.com and I can say, how much does it cost for 4 roller covers? And identify the one that I need. And if they're $5 each, maybe I get a 4-pack. Maybe it's $16. Okay, that's $16 I know I'm going to have to spend. Or I can take time to wash the roller cover. I don't know about you, but I hate washing roller covers. And I know how wasteful it is to throw them away, but it's so much easier to throw it away. But we'll see. We'll see how I do this. Because I need 4, I may decide to wash it out. But anyway, when you know what tools and materials you need and what projects you're going to do, you can map out the cost. And if you're only going to be able to spend, say, $500, that could determine whether you wash your rollers out or whether you just buy 4 roller covers. All right. So in this packet, there are some sheets that actually have your challenges. And this is where you can come up with solutions. So for example, challenge number 1, there is no drawer space and the clothes, as I mentioned, end up on top. So my solution is to look for larger dressers and also teach my kids how to put their stuff away. How about that, Serena? And of course, the other challenge is that they need beds. And so the solution is to build new beds. And also I need to sell their existing bed because I need space in that room. So I'm not going to go through all of the challenges that I identified, but I do have space on this document where you can write down 4 challenges and the solutions. So again, this will get you thinking about your project. And by writing it down, it feels less daunting because I think sometimes when you get started, before you get started, you're like, where in the world do I even start? But when you write it down, you start thinking, oh yeah, I need to sell the other bed before I get started because I need space in the room. Let's say you've got a spare bedroom and it's really messy. It's really just been like the junk collector room and you want to make this over into a craft room. Well, you know that one of the problems is that you've got too much stuff and that you've got to get the stuff out before you can even paint. And so then you can start planning, okay, how am I going to get all this stuff out? Maybe I invite over my sister-in-law to help me out. And then you start thinking of the next thing. Oh, well, we're going to need a large truck to get all this stuff out. Like, how are we going to move all these donations to the thrift stores? Or are we going to have a yard sale? Let's plan that. So you start thinking of what you need to do. And I feel that once you start writing things down and making a plan, it feels doable now. So don't let that room that just haunts you continue to haunt you because you can do something about it. And when you have a list of materials, it makes you feel so much smarter because now you know exactly what you're doing, you know who you need, you know how much it's going to cost, and you can get going. So one thing that I like about this packet that I put together is that it also breaks it down into weeks. And I think it goes up to, let's see here, I think it goes up to week 8, even though, most room makeovers, I say start with 30 days, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. But how it's listed out is week 1. And I've got some bullet points here. So you can say, like, you can make a plan. Okay, what do I need to get done for week 1? Well, I know for me, I need to take measurements of the room. and I need to list the bed for sale. And I think my week 1 is going to be, I'm starting it today. I'm going to say it starts today. And then Sunday will be the end of week 1. That's only a few days, but I can at least take pictures of the bed and I can list it on Nextdoor or Facebook Marketplace. But I know I need to get that done during these next few days. And I also need to plan out how much paint I need. So when you list out week 1 tasks, it feels like small chunks that you can actually take action on. And then once week 1 gets done, you can plan for week 2. I mean, right now I could actually plan for week 2 and say, okay, well, week 2, I'm actually going to do the painting. I'm going to buy a new cozy rug. I'm going to paint the door. I'm going to buy the wood that I need in order to make the new dressers. When you take each week and say, this is what I'm going to get done this week, this is what I'm going to get done next week, you now have a plan. You know what you're doing and when. So that's what I want you to think about as you're listening to this. Use this worksheet, this planning worksheet, to look at one room in your space that you have been you've been wanting to make over, but you just didn't know how to get started. And I think this is going to help you come up with ideas so that you don't continue to allow yourself to be stuck, right? Everybody wants a beautiful home. And I don't ever feel that people's home have to look like the cover of HGTV magazine. That's not the goal here. The goal is for you to be comfortable in your home so that when you walk into that room, you feel good. You feel like this is your oasis. And we're spending more and more time at home. I mean, I know that it's summer, but fall's going to be here soon. And like I said, this virus is starting to rage out of control again in some areas. And so some of us are going to be spending more time at home. So make sure that your home is as comfortable and affordable. So you don't want to go into debt making these room makeovers happen, but make sure your home is as comfortable and as budget friendly as you possibly can. And I think by using this worksheet, you're going to be able to do that. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to set those dates. And when you get done, I want you to send me before and after pictures. So if you are listening to this and you are motivated to do a room makeover based on what you've heard here, based on the guide you're going to get for free, just click down below. I want you to send me before and after pictures of what you were able to achieve. And I will celebrate with you. And you know what? If you want to email me, even before, like right now, if you listen to this and you're motivated, take a before picture and send it to me. And I will definitely help motivate you to continue to get done that room makeover. Here's one more thing I want to tell you before we close this out. There is a website that I love to use. It's called Homestyler. And I'll leave a link down below. And I do have a video that I did several years ago on how to use Homestyler. What it is, it's a free site that allows you to create your room in 3D. So if you know, for example, your room is like 16 by 18, for example, let's say whatever room you're working on, 16 by 18, you can go in and set those parameters. You can look at it as like a 2D and you can look at it as 3D and you can start putting furniture in there. They have tons of furniture that you can just move. I think is it like dragging? You can almost drag it right onto the room. And what you can do is you can start looking at your space. So if you're trying to change your bedroom around, but you don't want to move all these heavy pieces of furniture around just to see what your room would look like that, use a site like Homestyler and drag those pieces of furniture, find the ones that look similar to the size and style that you have and move those pieces of furniture around. You can change the paint color of the walls. I actually did this when I was redesigning my master bathroom. I knew that I wanted pink. I love pink and purple. And I knew that I wanted to create a new vanity. I built the vanity from scratch, but I wanted to get an idea of what it would look like once I had all of those things in place. And it was actually a pretty good representation of what it looked like by the time I was done. And I also used this for my family room several years ago when I was making it over. I wanted to know what my sofa would look like in a certain position and chairs in different locations. And it looked like a pretty good representation when I was done. I liked how it looked and decided to move forward with that plan. So if you're doing a room makeover and you're having to move furniture around or even bring in different types of furniture, plan it on Homestyler first so that you've got a good idea of what it's going to look like. All right, that is what I got for you today. This is episode 27, I believe, or is it 28? I never get it right. 27. I always don't get this information right. But yes, 27 episodes. And I am so happy that you're listening. I really hope that you've been enjoying this podcast. Be sure to go to Apple, go to Google, and leave a review. Let me know what you think. I want to know if this podcast is resonating with you, if you're enjoying it every single week. And also be sure to find me on Instagram at Thrift Diving. I'm also on YouTube. Don't forget, I do videos about every week or two, and there's a whole bunch of things that we talk about over there related to decorating, improving, and maintaining your home. And remember, you can always email me, Serena@thriftdiving.com. If you have a topic for an upcoming show, I would love to hear it. All right, I will see you next episode.